documentary made in Kamloops for Tell Us will air for the first time at the Paramount Theatre this Friday night. The Dirt Chix, Making Time, tells the story of 4 women who wanted to learn how to ride mountain bikes. 15 years later, the group has swelled to over 160 women. These get-togethers are about a lot more than just hitting the trails.
We're all busy, and we all have complicated lives. If we want to do anything, we need to create a block of time and name it and honor it. We name Thursday nights Dirt Chix Night, and we make that time to ride.
Sound like they're having a lot of fun. Vesta Giles is the writer, director, and producer. Josef Perszon is the editor and cinematographer. Great to have you both in the studio. Thanks so much. Big, is this the world premiere that's coming up here in Kamloops?
It is the world premiere.
Why did you decide to do a flick about the Dirt Chix?
I rode with the Dirt Chix for about half a season and realized I needed a better bike. But they just inspired me. Their humanity, their humor, they're a crazy bunch of women, and they just completely inspired me, and I couldn't stop thinking about them.
When you're putting together a documentary for the first time and you're trying to decide, you know, you've got all this subject matter to deal with, what am I going to focus on? What kinds of qualities are you looking for in a story?
For me, I'm looking for a story that is moving in some way, that the audience can connect with in an emotional way. I don't want something that's just about facts. I want something that has a bit of heart to it and that people will connect to it in some way.
Tell us more about the movie. Just describe what it's like and what we should anticipate seeing.
The Dirt Chix is a 45-minute documentary for Tell Us, and it will be on Tell Us, Optic, and YouTube probably by the end of the month. But it's about these 160 women who get together every Thursday night for a couple hours, and they solve all the world's problems when they're on the trail. And at the same time, they're making time for themselves, and that's really how it started, was learning about the original Dirt Chix 15 years ago. They had a hard time getting on the trails because they had families and they had schedules, and everybody had something that they needed from them. And so these women just finally decided, no, Thursday nights we're riding, adjust your schedule. And eventually their families and everybody bought into it. And now there's 160 plus women on their email this year. So 15 years later, they just keep attracting women who are trying to do the same thing.
You know, take care of yourself. And we teach our kids that, and then as adults, we forget.
Especially as mothers.
As mothers, you want your kids, so it's every Canadian kid's rite of passage to learn to swim and learn to bike. And then when you get to be an adult, you forget that that's still important.
So if you were to define this group of women, how would you define them?
I would, I think, pretty safely define these women as nuts. They go down steep hills, they climb just ridiculous mountains, and at the same time, they never stop talking. I don't know how people can talk while they're breathing so hard, but they do, and they're so diverse. They're non-judgmental. They support the beginners. They support you meeting your goals and reaching new goals. And I think that's what's really inspiring about them, is that you can be the absolute beginner and they have a place for you. And you can be someone who wants to rip down mountains and they have a place for you there too.
When we first started, it was the 4 of us, and we got 4 jerseys made up because we thought that would be,
It would make it
funny.
official.
And we started to ride, and because we were wearing these 4 matching jerseys, people stopped us on the trail, mostly men, and said, what is this about? And we'd say, we're the Dirt Chix. And usually the next question was, can my wife ride with you? And so that's how it started to grow. We gathered these women every week, and we just sent an email, we're riding at this location, and here we are 15 years later, and we're still doing the same thing.
We shot in 4 locations it was all shot in Kamloops. So we shot at the Bike Ranch and Harper Mountain and Bachelor, so up in Lac du Bois, and Kenna Cartwright.
And how big was your crew, and how did you capture, the action happening?
Our crew was about 5 people, and it was a great crew. I found my dream crew. It's awesome. And we it was a little bit hard to, it's hard to film people going fast because they go by you and then you wait for, you maybe got a few minutes of footage. And so we had to be in places where we could get multiple shots of them going in multiple directions just to sort of maximize our time. That was a little bit of a challenge, and getting equipment out onto trails is a little bit of a challenge, but my crew just buckled up and just did it, and they were all passionate about the project. I think pretty much every one of them wants to get a bike now, and I think even the guys want to ride with the Dirt Chicks.
Oh, speaking of guys, Josef, let's get you in on this. Tell us a little bit tell us a little bit more about your role in the film and what you bring to the equation.
Okay, so again, I was the cinematographer on this project, and so I was in charge of filming things, kind of how the project actually looks, things like, I guess, where we're going to be and the kind of shots we're going to get on each day, and then also the lighting on interview day.
I know. Do you do the editing as well?
Yes, I also do the editing, and so that was quite the process. This was actually the first documentary I've ever edited, and so it's been quite the learning experience for me to do that.
Let me ask you something. I'm always curious when I watch mountain biking films, and I love the way they're shot and edited. Did you look at a lot of other projects before you went into this one, or did you want it to be truly unique in your own work?
Well, one thing that Vesta said to me right at the very beginning is that this isn't a biking film, first and foremost. It's actually a film about the women, and the biking is actually secondary. So I researched more about documentaries because I hadn't done that yet. Mm-hmm. I really did research documentaries, not so much biking films, although I did watch about 5.
What did you learn from this process? What did you learn from this story and these women?
So I actually work as an editor and cinematographer at Joy Factory Films here in town. And so what I'm doing a lot of is short corporate pieces. So things that are like between 30 seconds and 3 minutes. So the difference between that and a 45-minute doc is it's like comparing a sprint to a marathon. And so the biggest thing I had to deal with was actually burning out, or like keeping a consistent theme throughout the entire video. 45 minutes is a long time to keep everything super consistent. Mm-hmm.
How do you know? How do you know what you're going to do? Which shots you're going to pick? How are you going to get from one shot to another?
Yeah, you know what? The cool thing about it's kind of weird. I feel like I didn't edit the documentary, and I feel like that happens with a lot of videos I make. It kind of forms, and you're just problem solving one little thing at a time, and then eventually you have something, and then once you have something, then you can kind of work with it once you can see what it already has become. And so a lot of it is just allowing the project to become what it's going to become, and then tweaking it from there.
How do you feel about the end result?
I'm quite proud of the thing we made. As a first documentary, I think it's great. And I'm very thankful for everyone that I was able to work with. I think everybody really pulled their own weight.
Mm-hmm. Vesta, let's hear from you about this. What do you hope people take away from the film at the world premiere at the Paramount?
I think I want them to get a sense of how important it is to make time for yourself, and how important it is to find something you love to do and to make time to do it. And I think these women, they have really busy lives. These women have lots of kids and big jobs and just lots going on, but Thursday nights, they're there. And I think there's something really powerful in that, in just owning your time and saying, I'm taking care of myself right now, and this is what we're doing. And everybody else will buy into it. And I know one of the women in the documentary, she says, I have a self left. And I'm not being selfish, I have a self left. And that line just really sticks with me, that she's taking care of herself first so she can take care of others.
I used to do everything for my family. It was all about them. And then I took a change, and now it's more about me. I would just say to them, I'm riding, dinner's going to be late, and they've had to get used to my schedule, and they've been really good about it, but it was a little bit hard at first. Instead of being selfless, I have a self left in me. So I'm making myself important now.
Thank you for coming in. I noticed you've left us with a couple of tickets. We'll give these away on the air.
Great.
Okay, and see you at the premiere.
Yes, thank you.
Sounds exciting. Thanks for coming in. We're just trying to find those tickets. If you'd like to win them, send us an email, kamloops@cbc.ca, and we'll try to wrestle those up. Vesta said she'd drop some extras off for us here. Vesta Giles is the writer, director, and producer of the Dirt Chix movie. Josef Perszon is the editor and cinematographer. And give us an email if you'd like to win some tickets to the Paramount Theatre Friday at 7, kamloops@cbc.ca, and we'll draw for a winner.